ನನ್ಕಿಂತ ಡೇಂಜರಾ?
ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡುವಾಗ ಮನ್ಸೊಳಗಡೆನೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು.
It began like any other taping day at the Late Show, with Stephen Colbert, a liberal-leaning audience filling the studio, the band warming up, and the host reviewing his monologue. But this time, there was an undercurrent of anticipation. Tonight's guest wasn't a Hollywood star or a Democratic senator. It was Caroline Leavitt, the unapologetic, rising conservative firebrand, former White House press secretary, and one of the youngest political voices making waves on the right. She had agreed to appear on Colbert's show after a week of back-and-forth negotiations. The premise? A conversation about media misinformation and the role of press secretaries in shaping public perception. But both sides knew this wasn't going to be a polite exchange of ideas. It was war dressed up in comedy. The teaser clip Colbert's team posted earlier that morning had already stirred up a storm. In it, he looked into the camera and said with a smirk, "Tonight, the Queen of MAGA messaging herself is coming to explain why facts don't matter, as long as you say them with a smile." The clip ended with studio laughter, but Twitter erupted. Conservatives called it a setup. Liberals said they couldn't wait to watch her crumble. Caroline saw the clip on her way to the studio. In the back of a black SUV, she rewatched it 3 times, her jaw tightening with each playback. Her team had warned her, "It's a trap. He's going to mock you, corner you, and edit it however he wants." But Caroline didn't care. "Let him try," she said, pulling a folded document from her bag and tucking it into her blazer. "They think I came to play defense. I didn't." As she entered the CBS building, camera crews tracked her every step. She wore a fitted navy suit, a small cross necklace, gleaming under the lights, the same look she wore when confronting journalists. On the White House lawn, Colbert, in contrast, wore a grin. "She's about to step into the lion's den," he whispered to his producer backstage. "Let's see if the cub can roar." The studio lights dimmed, the opening music played. The crowd cheered as Stephen took his seat behind the desk. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a special guest. She's bold, she's controversial, and she's definitely got fans and critics. Please welcome Caroline Leavitt." Applause echoed though, mixed with murmurs. Caroline stepped out confidently. As she sat across from Colbert, their eyes locked, 2 worlds colliding in real time. And in that instant, before a single word was spoken, the air tightened with the promise of something explosive. This wasn't just late-night TV. It was political theatre, and Caroline was ready to rewrite the script. The band faded out, the applause simmered, and for a few seconds, there was only silence between Stephen Colbert and Caroline Leavitt, 2 professionals trained in verbal combat, seated under the bright, unflinching lights of American television. Colbert leaned forward first, adjusting his glasses with performative ease. "Caroline," he began, "thank you for joining us. I know it's not exactly home turf for you here." Caroline gave a half smile. "I'm comfortable wherever facts matter." The audience gave a polite chuckle, unsure who'd just scored the first point. Stephen tilted his head. "So let's get right into it. You've been accused of being a leading voice in spreading misinformation during your time as White House press secretary about COVID numbers, the border, and the 2020 election. Should I go on?" Caroline didn't flinch. "You can go on, but it won't make you right." Colbert cracked a grin. "See, that's what I love about you. No matter how clear the facts are, you find a way to say the opposite with conviction." Laughter rippled through the crowd, emboldening him. "You once told a reporter on live TV that President Trump had secured the border better than any modern president. Do you still stand by that?" Caroline's eyes narrowed slightly. "Absolutely. You want to compare numbers, Stephen? I've got them right here. She tapped the inside pocket of her blazer, but didn't pull anything out. Yet. Stephen raised an eyebrow. Okay, so you're saying the massive footage we all saw. Families separated, overcrowded facilities, and migrants under bridges. That's what success looks like. Caroline's tone sharpened. You're talking about images. I'm talking about outcomes. An outcomes show border crossings dropped significantly under our policies. But go ahead. Quote headlines instead of DHS data. The room tensed. Colbert's smile flattened briefly. Then he turned to the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, we've entered the spin zone. He pivoted. You also said that mainstream media has blood on its hands for how it covered COVID. That's an aggressive claim. Care to walk it back? Caroline didn't blink. No, I'll walk it forward. When media outlets downplayed lab leak theories, silenced doctors, and weaponized fear for ratings. Yes, that hurts people. You're laughing. But I've spoken with families who couldn't say goodbye to loved ones because of the hysteria you helped create. The crowd gasped. Colbert tried to recover. That's a powerful accusation. You think I created hysteria? Caroline leaned in. Not just you, but you played your part. The temperature in the room shifted. Colbert shifted in his seat, glancing at the prompter. He had prepared zingers, but she wasn't playing into them. She was flipping the tone from comedy to confrontation. Let's pivot, he said. You also defended Trump after January 6th and said he did everything within his power to stop the violence. You don't think that's misinformation? Caroline's lips tightened. You want to talk about that day? Let's talk about the security request denied and the timelines ignored. But we both know you're not interested in truth. You're interested in narrative. The crowd murmured again. Stephen took a breath. You know, some say that's the definition of gaslighting. Caroline finally reached into her blazer. And some say it's time to stop calling truth misinformation just because it's inconvenient. Want to read what DHS actually said? She held up the paper, but didn't hand it over. Not yet. Stephen glanced at it, and then back to the camera. Well, folks, we're just getting started. But anyone watching could already feel Caroline wasn't here to be the punchline. The lights buzzed overhead, and for a moment, the studio audience wasn't sure whether to laugh, clap, or simply stare. Stephen Colbert's grin was thinning. His jokes weren't landing like they used to. Not against this guest. Caroline Levitt wasn't playing the role he'd cast for her. She wasn't flustered. She wasn't defensive. She was sharp and something colder, prepared. Colbert cleared his throat. Let's talk about what you just held up. That DHS memo. You seem eager to make your case. Go ahead, enlighten us. Caroline unfolded the paper calmly. This is from the Department of Homeland Security, dated January 3rd, 2021, 3 days before the Capitol riots. It shows Trump's administration requested additional National Guard support. It was denied. By whom? That's a longer conversation. But the point is, our side tried. Stephen leaned back, his smirk fading into something resembling concern. So your argument is, Trump tried to stop the riot. My argument, she said slowly, is that truth has been buried under headlines, crafted to destroy him, and people like me for years. A few audience members clapped. The rest stayed silent. Colbert pressed. But what about the tweets? The silence. The 3 hours it took him to speak. Caroline turned to him. 3 hours. Stephen. Pelosi was in charge of the Capitol's security. The sergeant-at-arms reports to her. Why didn't they act sooner? Stephen's face stiffened. So it's Pelosi's fault now. I'm saying, she replied. It's convenient how the media forgets the chain of command when it suits the story. The studio grew still. Colbert reached for his mug, buying time. All right, he said, raising his eyebrows. Let's take a breath. But Caroline didn't let up. You asked me here to explain myself, and I will. But I won't sit here while you throw edited headlines and pretend it's fact. You want to talk about lying on national television. Let's talk about how CNN, MSNBC, and even your own team called the Hunter Biden laptop Russian disinformation. That lie changed an election. The crowd murmured. It was a detonation. The studio fell into a dense silence that even the cameras seemed hesitant to break. Stephen leaned forward, trying to recover. Caroline, he began, his voice cooler than before. This is a comedy show. We don't operate under courtroom standards. Everything said here is satire, nuanced and often exaggerated. That's the point. But Caroline didn't blink. She held her ground. There's a difference between satire and spreading misinformation, she said firmly, her voice cutting through the tension. When you misquote a sitting president and edit clips to make him look insane and millions believe it, that's not comedy. That's manipulation. A few people in the front row clapped cautiously, but the room had shifted. The mood wasn't light anymore. Levitt had turned the segment into something sharper. Not a comedy routine, but a live confrontation. Stephen reached for humor again. Well, if comedy is a crime, then lock me up, he quipped, grinning. But Caroline shook her head. If comedy's the excuse for lying, then someone's got to call it out. That's why I'm here. Then she raised a tablet from the table beside her. With a swipe, a clip rolled behind her on the screen. Stephen's show from 6 months ago. In the segment, he claimed Trump called dead soldiers losers. But in the full unedited version now playing, Trump's voice was clearly referring to something else. The distortion is undeniable. Caroline turned.